Hi, welcome to this week's Raqs Talks. I'm Perizaad.
I'm Faizeh.
And this week we had the amazing and talented Yalia. Yay! Hi, Yalia, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. We discovered you during Katie's Social Shimmy Challenge. I'm pretty sure that's when I started following you. I think you're so fun, and you have such, aside from the fact that you do have great technique, you are just joyful and a joy to watch. So I'm really excited to have you on the show. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Also, redheads have to stick together. And I love your fiery hair and all of your promos.
Let's talk about Raqs Curve, which you produced with Katie Sahar, Chudney, and Christine Yavin. That was just such a great show. I was so happy I got to watch it. It was a joy. And you had an entire story with your piece. You want to talk about how you kind of created that piece?
I always wanted to have a theater for my own. I always wanted to do a video in a theater and be there all by myself, even before the lockdown started. And I always had this idea of, a little bit like Hollywood. You enter and you see the stage and all of the stuff. And I always wanted to do this thing that you see a changing room, and there's the costume, and then like Cinderella, you turn into your costume and stuff like this. And I'm very lucky to have an awesome boyfriend who helped me to make this work. And this theater in Vienna where we did my video is a very special theater. It's very well known and it's gorgeous inside, and you're like craving to be on the stage as a dancer. When the lockdown happened in Austria again, we were thinking it's the best chance to get a theater to do this, because otherwise they're fully booked or so expensive that you don't have a chance. That's the story why we did it there. And for me, and I also saw in the reactions of the other dancers who watched the show, I miss being in a theater. I miss being on the stage. I miss especially the electricity of being backstage with other artists. This feeling. For me, it's nearly as important as the performance on stage, is this excitement backstage. And when you have nice colleagues and you're helping each other and chitty-chatting and gossiping, that's the story. I enter the theater. I'm a normal person and I see this costume backstage and the magic is happening. The ending of the video, you saw it. It has a little twist. I wanted to do something funny, because when you do a video in a theater place and all this stuff, it looks like you think you're Supergirl or something. And I wanted to have this funny twist to make fun of myself for being like, I'm so cool.
I really enjoyed it. How did you come to decide that you wanted to put the show together? I've talked to Katie a little bit about it, but I'd love to hear from you.
Katie, Christine, and me came together first, and after Chutney joined us. Between Katie, Christine, and me, there's something. I have no idea what it is. But we immediately connected. We tell each other a lot that we feel like we're sisters. Katie she's very enthusiastic, and she has this energy. And when she has an idea, she's a doer. She's not just talking about, we could do this, like I would do it. She's immediately thinking of how we can do it. And Christine is this gorgeous, calm, relaxed, adorable muse.
A good way to describe her.
Yes.
I love both so much. And the three of us, we started a WhatsApp group, a chat group. We were talking a lot of times how hard it is to be a dancer in a bigger body, how hard it is to get into festivals, to be seen, to be recognized as a serious artist. Out of this, the idea grew to give a platform to other dancers, especially in bigger bodies, although all body types struggle, but we are big. So our idea was to do it for bigger dancers. And Chadney is the best. I don't know how to say. She's making our group perfect. Chadney is a gorgeous artist. I love how she's dancing. I love how she's listening to the music. I adore her. Her technique, everything is so...
Agreed.
So we're like the Fantastic Four.
This is something that I have kind of observed over the years as a Middle Eastern dance artist. Do you feel like you have to work harder just to get the base? Like there's the beautiful, skinny, young ladies who are 20 years old who just have to stand there in a pretty costume and everyone's like, oh my gosh, she's exquisite, and not even doing anything. Have you encountered kind of this sense that you have to work harder because you don't fit that particular mold?
Absolutely. And since all this body positivity, body acceptance, Raqs Curve thing started, I try to reflect more on what exactly happened with me. I went through very different body types all my life. My weight is like a roller coaster, and the times when I was skinnier and the times when I was bigger, when I compare them, I see every time I was skinnier, it was much easier. I had more gigs, I had more invitations, I had more reactions to my social media stuff. So yes, absolutely. I had to prove more. And I also told this in Raqs Curve in our discussion panel. The thing that I felt the most, I'm not the ideal picture of a dancer in the head of a lot of people, was always when I entered the backstage area, and especially in the beginning when nobody had any idea who I was. The first thing that happened usually was a look up and down, like, who is she? What does she do here? And after I performed and after people saw I'm a dancer, I am able to dance, it changed. And people were talking to me and treated me completely different than before. So this prejudice of the fat dancer who is lazy, who doesn't know her technique, who has no idea what she's doing, but she just wants to be hot for a second. I think that's the idea that a lot of people have. It's very present. Every time I enter the backstage area and I knew this will start, what I did, I was extremely polite and kind to everybody, more than you would normally do it. You want people to like you, and if you already feel you don't belong here, you want to do something so people just think, okay, you're the cute chubby whatever you are. So my experience is, yes, it's much harder when you're bigger. In the same time, if you are lucky, and I think I was very lucky, you can use this prejudice for yourself, for your advantage. For me, it is Shabi and Baladi. I don't want to say I'm not good in Shabi and Baladi, but I'm good in Shabi and Baladi style, and I am fat. And a lot of people have in their head, if you're bigger, you're better in Baladi and Shabi. So I had the advantage for this style. When I said backstage, what will you dance? Oh, I will dance Baladi. People are like, oh, you must be good in it. I think that was something that helped me to overcome the struggle of being a bigger dancer in our dance scene.
Well, I always enjoy watching you dance. I mean, I only get to see online, obviously, but I always enjoy it. And, something that I've talked about before, I think I may have talked about this with Christine, but in the early 2000s or in the aughts, there were always discussions among belly dancers about why are we only hiring all of the homogenous look? Like everybody looks the same. Why are we only hiring these people? It always bothered me because when I would host showcases or when I was trying to put together an event, the people always wanted to go to the dinky little dancers shows. There's nothing wrong with liking the dinky little dancer, But I remember even then going, put your money where your mouth is. If you feel like there should be more diversity, then you have to show up.
One of the things that we talk about a lot on this, just because, we talk to professional dancers. And so, as a professional, they get paid for their art. And so money always comes into it. And it's one of those things, it's like, I mentioned on our last interview with Stephanie that she mentioned that she had grown up as like a ballet and modern dancer, a contemporary dancer, and how she just stopped doing it when she got to LA because she just didn't want to deal, because it's so commercial. And I talked about how like I have a degree in theater and I have done one acting thing in the 5+ years that I've been in Los Angeles because I don't want to deal with the industry. And this is part of the problem, is like, we really need to separate the art from the industry. Somebody made a comment about, festivals being more of a hobbyist thing and not a professional thing. But I love festivals because I can see artists and it's not about the money. Like, yes, they may have to, pay for their time slot and everything like that, but they get to go up there and they get to do their art and they get to just be there. And I love seeing that. That's what I've always seen, maybe not like in who's being hired as the big names and for the gala shows and who's being hired as the workshop instructors. Maybe the diversity hasn't been there, but when I get to just, the main stage that's there and you like get your like weird 10-minute time slot at like 6:20 or whatever it is, like you get your
2:12.
yes, you get your weird time slot. But that's when I see the most diversity. That's when I see some of the most inspiring performances. Like, that's what I really love. And it's being able to see like the diversity in artists. And I would like to say about Raqs Curve, for me, Faizeh and a bunch of our friends just went and did a bunch of fun, goofy photos, whatever you want to. We did a photo shoot. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't really touch up my body. For a lot of my life, I've been like the bigger dancer amongst my friends, amongst the troupe, what have you. And so like, I know for me, because I was next to, especially when I was a teenager, all my friends and I were blonde. But they were all 5'4", I was 5'10". And then I usually had like 30 to 40 pounds on them. So I was like, I don't want to be seen as the big dancer. So I would like, as I saw discuss somewhere else, I would over dance. I would try to outperform them so that way people would remind me as like the girl that was really good and like you could really see her moves instead of the big girl. And so this I just went through and I edited the photos that I'm going to be using, and I basically just was like, nice skin, and I didn't really retouch my body for like the first time. And I really do think it was because seeing your guys' show really, really inspired me. It was like, my body can be there too. My body's valid on Instagram, like, on social media, in a belly dance costume. Me, my body, my roles are valid. So thank you.
I'm very happy to hear that, really very much. I think that's also the reason why we have to go out there, even if we feel insecure and we know there will be some teenagers sitting in the basement of their mothers typing some weird stuff. We have to go out there. We have to show other big body dancers it's okay to have this body. You're allowed to exist like this.
Why don't you tell us how you got into belly dance in the first place?
I was about 11, 12 years old when my mother decided to take me to a summer camp. But a summer camp for adults, actually.
That sounds fun.
When I was a teenager, I had these typical, usual teenager stuff issues. I was this cliche hiding girl with the big sweater and the big jeans, even if it had 35 degrees Celsius. And I think my mother just decided to say, okay, I take this girl to Greece to the summer camp with me, and she has to dance and paint and do stuff. And in this summer camp in Greece, there was Feldenkrais. Do you notice this? It's some kind of, I have no idea how I should say this in English. Moshe Feldenkrais was the founder of this. It's a body technique to find out how to move, not to be in pain, actually, if you put it down to this. And there was a dancer who was teaching a mix of several dances from Africa, and he was teaching samba and salsa. And I was doing these two classes, Feldenkrais and these dance classes. When I came back to Austria, I continued with these stuffs. And I saw in a dance festival for African culture, I saw a dancer for Oriental dance. and I was 13 years old. And I fell in love immediately. She was so gorgeous. Her costume was sparkly and she had long hair down to her hips. And I was like, oh. And I started taking classes with her. And she was encouraging me a lot to dance more and not to be shy to perform. And I performed way too early. I was standing backstage and I remember the dancer behind me was seriously kicking my butt. So I entered the stage. My dance teacher is bigger herself, and I never had even 1 second the feeling that she's judging me for my body. And a few years later, I started teaching in her dance school, and I'm still a teacher in her dance school. That's how I began with Oriental dance.
What are your favorite ways to participate kind of in this community? Because, Christine was talking about how she doesn't necessarily like to do competitions, but she does coach her students for competitions. She just prefers to dance and just really put together some ridiculously beautiful choreographies for her students and to perform in festivals. What are your favorite things to do in this community?
I love performing and I love teaching. If I had to choose, I'm not sure what I would choose because I love both equally. What I don't really like is being a judge in a competition because I find it so difficult. Every time I'm doing it, it's killing me. I understand why competitions can be so good for the people participating in it, but still, I feel like even with all my experience and stuff I know, I feel like who am I to decide if she's better or he's better? So I think nobody will ever hire me as a judge again, but I think that's the thing I like the least. I love performing and I love teaching. And I don't know what I would choose if I had to. I hope I don't have to choose.
No, we're not going to make you. What's your favorite part about teaching? Or, okay, not your favorite. What do you like about teaching? Tell us everything you like about teaching.
I enjoy a lot about teaching when I see that my students are happy. Usually it's you in front of the mirror, unspeakable word, and you have your students in your back. When I see in their faces that they are happy, that's when I'm happy the most. Of course, I love giving them something to grow in their dance. But for me, when we dance and they're enjoying it, that's when I'm like, I'm doing a good job. It's very difficult for me when I know a lot of students, and me too, when I learn something, sometimes the face is freezing because you're concentrated. I know this, I'm doing this myself, but it's very hard for me because I need this feedback in the face that my students are okay. That's what I love the most, to see them happy, enjoy their bodies, enjoy dancing.
I love that. What are your favorite styles to perform?
I really love performing fun shabby songs. I love being cheeky on stage.
This shocks me.
Also, I enjoy when I'm able to do funny things in the dance. I don't mean only my face, the chest circles and the buttock stuff. And I love baladi because I love the energy of taksim and tabla. Shabby and baladi are my favorite styles.
Yeah, shabby's really fun. I'm taking a workshop, a series, I should say, with Amanda Rose on baladi. And it's been it's not something new to me, but the way she's been breaking it down, like the various layers during a baladi progression, here's this element and then this element and this element and this element, and they're all layered on top of each other. It's making something that is so simple and yet so complex and making it accessible. And I'm really enjoying the series. But yeah, baladi, like a good baladi progression is like so especially when the song starts in, you get that beat and you're like, oh yeah.
I will always and forever love baladi because it's always where they, especially the progressions, because it will always do that thing where it's like the music is building, and then it just drops into the doom doom tek tek doom, and you just have to stop and you just have to do your hip drops, and it's my favorite thing in the whole world, which is why I will always have to learn Egyptian just so I can dance to baladi.
Yes. It's kind of okay, I don't know how appropriate it is for me to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway.
No, I'm interested.
Ballet progression is kind of like that build up when you're in an intimate moment with somebody. And then when that beat drops, it's that moment when you know it's going to happen, you know?
Actually, I had an Egyptian teacher. I'm not sure if he wants me to share this, so I will not say his name. And he told me that among, I guess, some Egyptian musicians, that's how they refer to it, that it's the translation of this thing that you just mentioned.
And I think that tension is part of why, aside from just the exotica kind of that Westerners have placed on it, I think that tension that we feel, like if you are really in the music, there is tension that is happening in your performance. I think that that is probably one of the reasons why it gets stamped with the whole sex dance idea, because that's inherent in our sexuality, is that tension. And that's kind of what we're harnessing to a certain degree when we're in the middle of that ballet progression or whatever it is.
Because that I have a lot of friends who are in Western dance, they do tap, they do ballet, etc. This is an attitude that I see reflected in a lot of, especially American culture, that they feel that what they do is more art than what I do, because I do belly dance. And I think it's because, you know, ballet is beautiful. I would never describe it as sexy, you know? And I think it's because like it's very far removed. It's very removed from sexuality. And that was something that we talked about with Adrienne. I said your name, deal with it. Sorry, we have to do with our friend Adrienne. You know, that's one of the things that we talked about in our interview. There's a hierarchy within art that, like, the further removed it is from the people, the more precious and the more like art it's seen. So like, you know, sculptures and paintings, you don't touch them, you don't really interact with them other than to just look at them and appreciate their beauty. And so therefore that is art. Whereas, you know, handicrafts, like, you know, the clothes that I'm wearing, the plates that I eat off of, those are handicrafts, and those aren't really seen as art because they have a function other than being pretty. And I eat with them every day. Whereas it's the same within art, and within dance, whereas like ballet, because it's on a stage, like if somebody's just started like doing pirouettes and jetés next to me, like if I were, you know, in New York on the subway and somebody just started doing that, I'd be like, what the hell is your problem, dude? There's like so many people on this train right now. Sit down. With belly dance, like it's designed to be with the people, near the people, whereas ballet is designed to be up on the stage and just seen. You know, if somebody, like, I could never go, like, even at a recital with my friends, like I could never go dance with them. Whereas with belly dancers, we want people to get up, and like a ballerina is never going to come up to me and be like, dance with me, here we go, let's do rond de jambes. Like that's never going to happen.
I would love
Whereas
to
belly
see
dance
that.
is meant to be a cooperative dance, so we're meant to be there.
Maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't. I just got a nasty comment that fits so well in this talk. A person, I don't know if it was a woman, the account was by a woman, but you know, you never know.
Right.
Wrote under one of my videos, you look like a fat Egyptian peasant dancing for her husband in bedroom. That's what she wrote.
Yeah.
The thing of this sentence is he wanted to offend me and insult me, and it's fatphobic and racist and classist and everything, but it was actually a compliment.
Yeah.
Because imagine I was able to dance like an Egyptian peasant. I would be so lucky if I was able to do that. And this really fits what you just said, because if an Egyptian peasant is dancing like this, it's not art. And if you do it on stage, it's art, or what?
Right.
This fits exactly this idea.
I'm just looking at like, no, it's everything you said. It's fatphobic, it's racist, and it's classist. It's like, this is way more of a reflection on the commenter than on what they're commenting on. Like, that's just...
Totally.
Yes.
But like, that's what you're saying is like, you know, one of the things that we do is like, we do ballet. My understanding is that ballet literally means country. Like it literally means like of the people country. Ballet is peasant dance or what have you. And it's freaking beautiful. Like that's what folk dance is. Folk is German for people. It's like Volkswagen is like of the people. Like that's what it means.
This is not a paid ad.
And I would argue that the influence of Mahmoud Reda kind of combined the folk aspect with this stage art thing. That's what this is. Because he took folk dance and made it into a stage performance.
But what you just said about this thing, it's not art if it's not very far from the people. This is such an important topic. How dare anybody says Baladi is not art? Baladi is pure art. Everything about it. How dare saying something a peasant does is not art? It's so blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the exact phrase. Buh. But I mean, that goes back to a lot of people. If you ask somebody what is art, you get a lot of different answers for what art is. Art challenges you. Not always. Art is beautiful. Not always, and so art in itself can be a challenge to define. But if something is coming from your creative well, that's at the very least art adjacent. So,
Who was it? Was it Meryl Streep? Some famous actress said, everything is art. The way you get out of bed, the way you take a shower, the way you put on your makeup, everything can be art.
I mean, it's true because there's a lot of things like, we'll watch movies or people will do dance performances where they, where it starts off as this everyday task that then goes in a different direction. Like, one of the most famous Gene Kelly dances is what he did with a newspaper. Like, it's such an everyday task that then he did all these crazy things where he's tap dancing and then he's ripping it in these very interesting ways with his feet. But it's because, like you said, everything can be art. But one of the other things that we mention on this show a lot is how, like you said, everything can be art, and to judge, the level of who's performing it, like their socioeconomic status deems whether this is art or not is ridiculous. One of the things we talk about is that what Faizeh was saying, where art challenges, not necessarily. We talk about how you're not entitled to an audience. Like, you are entitled to the ability to express your art, to create art. That is an inherent right in humanity, is to express yourself and to create. But you're not entitled to an audience. You're not entitled to anyone appreciating what you do. You're not entitled to a particular response to that art.
Right.
You're not. So I'm wondering if this person who said you looked like a fat Egyptian peasant performing for her husband in the bedroom, I'm wondering if she's one of these highfalutin artists who nobody likes, and she was mad because you're getting attention, and she thinks that that you are less worthy of attention than she is, and they are, whatever. But that's a huge thing too, is people deciding arbitrarily that they are more worthy of attention, or that I should be appreciated. I am definitely one of these people that I get very annoyed when my genius is not appreciated. But but it's one of those things. You're not necessarily, just because you think that you've achieved this particular level of dance or artistry, doesn't mean that people have to get it and that they're dumb if they don't get what you did. Maybe you need to find a different way to express what you're doing. You're not so the thing is that they can't be mad because you, Yalia, and what you do has found an audience that really appreciate what you do, and they think what you do is beautiful, and they think that your particular art is really beautiful, and maybe they don't appreciate, they can't be mad at that. It's just, you have found what you do, and that you do very, very well, and people are responding to that, and that's the true measure, really.
Yeah. Yep, that's true.
I think what you're saying, that it could be something like, why does this person get attention while I don't get as much as attention, could be a very big thing also in parts of body shaming in general.
Yes.
I have the feeling that if the person who is putting out these nasty comments is bigger herself, it's sometimes like a self-shaming. I'm not okay like I am, and she looks like me, and why is it okay with her? And if the person is slim herself, I have the feeling sometimes when they put out very mean comments, it's about, I am perfect as society says I have to be, and still I am not enough or something like this. And I heard from a very nice dancer that I really like, and she's very slim, and she's training a lot to be slim. She's not naturally slim. She has to be on a diet her whole life. She has to go to the gym every day to keep this body that she wants to keep. And she told me one time that she loves me, but she's upset with me. That I eat the cake, and I'm still seen in the dance scene, and she doesn't get the cake, and she has to work so hard, but she's not appreciated more than me. I think there's a lot going on in this body shaming stuff. It's a whole world of its own.
Yeah.
But you bring up a good point that this is something that she's put on herself, that she's decided to achieve something within yourself that is not natural, but is something that you want and desire. If it's something that you want and desire because that's what makes you happy, then it's very commendable to achieve these things. For people like, I'm certainly not naturally thin. I also don't work that hard at being thin. So I achieve what I achieve. But if it's because it's for her health, if it's because this is the aesthetic that she sees herself in and it makes her happy to be that way, then like I said, that's a great thing. However, that doesn't necessarily contribute to the dancing, and the thing is that you work very, very hard at your dancing for the sake of your dancing, and I think it shows, which is why, as you say, you get to have your cake and eat it too, and get to be appreciated for your art, because you're not putting all of your energy into this thing that has nothing to do with your art.
So one of the things that you put up on social media that cracks me up is you make fun of some of the direct messages that you get. Like, all I ever do is complain about, all the hi, why aren't you answering me? Hi. Especially for people that aren't even following me.
Oh, yeah.
But to me, that just drives home the point that they just feel entitled to our attention. But I don't want to go on another feminist rant. I do, but
I was gonna say, don't lie to me.
But what inspired you to start sharing and just making fun of them?
I don't really remember a moment where I was like, I have to do this. But I find it super amusing to check my DMs, because, sometimes there are serious work thingies in there. And then I see this person I never met. There's no profile picture, or the profile picture is some actor, and then it's hi, answer me. I love you. Hi. Why don't you? I don't know how to say this in English again. There is this animal, it's standing on its back legs, and it's like this, and it's like hey, all the time. Do you know what I mean?
Like a rodent or a meerkat or something.
Yep, meerkats, prairie dogs.
Yes. And I imagine this animal writing to me like this, and it's like ridiculous. And also the entitlement, the idea, usually after a while, sometimes it's months, they get really angry and aggressive. I share this every time I get DMs like this. I make a screenshot and I share it with my people, and to all of them it's amusing.
What's coming up next for you, or what's next in line for you?
I'm also bad in talking about this because I always forget what I'm doing. It's really horrible with me. I will start offering classes in English soon. Until now, I only taught online English classes when I had a festival or something. And I will start soon to offer them by myself. The Swedish festival, Stockholm Belly Dance Festival, will go online. That will happen soon. And some German festivals that are not interesting for English audience.
Where can we find you? Because everyone, we like to share your social media so that everyone can follow you if they don't already.
I'm on Instagram as Yalia Dance. Everywhere it's Yalia Dance. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. My boyfriend wants to say something. Website. I'm starting my new website soon. And everything will be Yalia Dance. So wherever you go, just look for Yalia Dance and you will find something from me.
Well, that was Yalia Dance. Yalia, thank you so much for talking with us today. We had such a great time talking about body positivity and art and the success of Raqs Curve. So thank you for coming on the show. But that's what we have for this week. My name is Perizaad.
I'm Faizeh.
And that was our Raqs Talks. Please give us a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Otherwise, we will see you next week. Ma salama.